right now on 5 on Your Side at 10.
Hi, I'm Becky, the Queen of Carpet.
Tonight, the 90s advertising icon is being remembered. Hear from the Queen of Carpets family.
A little humidity gets added to our Heat Wednesday. Why it's not enough to end the dry stretch for most of us.
But first tonight,
to uphold the laws and Constitution.
change at the top, swearing in the new St. Louis Circuit Attorney.
There has to be a penalty for the ones that do some wrong.
What police brass and the police union want from the new leader.
Tonight, there's a new person leading the St. Louis Circuit Attorney's Office. Good evening. I'm Mike Bush.
And I'm Ann Allred. The city's top cop is sounding off on the changes he wants to see under this new leadership. 5 on Your Side's Brent Solomon is live outside the Carnahan Courthouse with the story. Brent?
The city's new top prosecutor says it's time to get this office where he feels it needs to be. And that finds some police officers in the city hoping for a brand new day.
In the position of Circuit Attorney.
For the city of St. Louis.
For the city of St. Louis.
So help me God.
So help me God.
He's the new face of the St. Louis Circuit Attorney's Office. Gabe Gore replacing Kim Gardner, who stepped down following a cloud of controversy.
Working together, we can restore the public's confidence.
That's music to the ears of the St. Louis Police Officers Association.
The troops on the street are upbeat for a new start. The relationship has been so fractured here recently.
Joe Steiger is glad to see changes already happening, including the reopening of the warrant office. That's where police go when they make an arrest. Prosecutors hear the merit of the case and decide whether to move forward with charges. Gardner closed the office when she was in charge.
That's kind of where the relationships build, is where the police officers and the attorneys meet each other, they get to know each other, you learn a lot about each other, how each other works. It's an important aspect of that.
He's also hoping to see Gardner's exclusion list done away with. That's a list she created with the names of police officers. If their name was on it, prosecutors wouldn't consider their cases.
You see those in other places, Brady lists, or there's always a process there. There's a reasoning for why you're on there. It's an open record, and there's a way to get off of the list. And that was just not what this was. This was just a kind of an arbitrary list.
We all have to work together. We got to make sure that we're not having conflict in the press. We got to make sure that everything that we do is professional.
Tuesday, Police Chief Robert Tracy said he's also hopeful for a new day.
There has to be a penalty for the ones that do some wrong, that continue to go out and cause harm in our community. That is big. We got to make sure that there are consequences to behavior.
And just hours after being sworn in, Gore hired a chief trial assistant. And he's a familiar name here, Marvin Tier. He's the same person who held the same position but resigned under Gardner's administration. Ann.
A new initiative aimed at putting the brakes on expired temporary license tags took off today in Ferguson. New tonight, Robert Townsend checks out how Temp Tag Tuesday is going.
You might say Triple T Day is now in high gear in Ferguson.
This problem is everywhere.
Sergeant Jill Gronwald is ready for Temp Tag Tuesday.
It is to raise awareness to the growing number of expired temp tags that everyone sees.
For years, she and her fellow officers have seen the statewide problem firsthand. Countless drivers get temporary tags when they buy a car in Missouri, and they don't pay the sales tax to get permanent license plates and register up front. Instead, they keep on driving past that expiration date.
You're going to consistently see maybe like some 19s, some 20s, occasionally some 21s, 22s. I've seen as far back as 2010.
By the time we rode around with Sergeant Gronwald, she had already spotted 10 temp tag violators.
Expired temp tag of 3/26 of 22.
In an effort to crack down on the problem, on Tuesdays, officers in Ferguson will especially be on the lookout for expired temporary tags.
Our goal is not to put any more of a financial burden on anybody. So if they're behind on utility bills, for example, we could refer them, and then maybe they could, help relieve some of their financial burden to get them in compliance.
Now, if you get a ticket for failing to register your car here in Ferguson, be ready to shell out about $50 for the fine and add in another $26 or so for court costs. Ferguson's top cop says many drivers will get a warning. However, drivers with really old temporary tags that expired years ago will likely be ticketed.
It may be necessary for it to happen so that people are on it. People just need to have their stuff right on their car.
In Ferguson, Robert Townsend, 5 on your side.
And today, Ferguson officials announced a change in their safety protocols after a violent Memorial Day weekend. Police say a large fight broke out Saturday night at January Warbash Park. And that was inside the pool area. After a supervisor closed the pool, a shooting happened along January Road by the park. 9 juveniles were taken into custody, and 1 adult was detained for questioning at the hospital. All juveniles were released to family members at the hospital. Now there's a new game plan to keep residents safe this summer.
The Parks Department's looking into hiring private security, and naturally the Patrol Division has been doing extra patrols in the area.
Now non-residents are only allowed at the pool during the week for a daily rate. Residents and members are the only ones who can swim during weekends and holidays.
The man who was pulled from the Mississippi River this weekend was most likely running from police. Police say they answered a call that a man had been melting copper on Lenore K. Sullivan Drive on Thursday. When officers arrived, the man darted into the river. 2 days later, people on a riverboat spotted a body floating in the water. Police sources say they're confident it's the same man.
Tonight, we have our eye on the air quality across the area. Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell explains why the numbers are so high right now.
You know, we haven't had a whole lot of wind the last few days, and it's been pretty bright, too. That sunshine interacts with pollution that just doesn't get dispersed by the wind. And once again this afternoon, we had the orange air quality, which is unhealthy for sensitive groups, which is actually a larger number of people than you might imagine. It includes children, even teenagers, as well as active adults who spend a lot of time outside, and those folks that have lung issues. You should reduce your time outside during the afternoon and evening hours, and definitely reduce that exertion. Big thing here is the lack of wind. At times, hardly any wind at all today. And right now, the wind has gone calm in St. Louis. That leads to those higher levels of pollution, especially when you have the sunshine to help create that ozone during the afternoon. Tomorrow is yet another ozone action day with the air quality in that orange category, particularly after lunchtime and into the evening hours. You can reduce driving during the day to try to eliminate some of that ozone, fill your gas tank after dark, and delay yard work. Any gasoline engine yard machines, that be trimmers, mowers, they tend to aggravate the situation as well. Plus, it's a little dry. We'll see if we can't get some rain in here. We'll talk about that in a few minutes, Mike.
All right, Scott. St. Louis County Executive Sam Page vetoed a bill designed to force people off the street and onto the sidewalks. Sidewalks, some say, are dangerous and hard to navigate. Critics say the bill was designed to crack down on panhandlers, but the disabled community says this bill very much impacts their everyday life. Dr. Page says that's why he chose the veto.
Broken sidewalks make it impossible to navigate in wheelchairs. In many parts of our county, there are no sidewalks at all.
Page struck the pedestrian travel restrictions down with 1 day to go before it could have become law. The calendar at the county council now means they can't begin the override process until next Tuesday night. 4 members voted to pass it. They'll need 5 to override the veto.
The Army Corps of Engineers released its 3rd and final report on radioactive testing at Florissant's Jana Elementary. It found the area in and around the school is safe, just like the previous 2 reports. The Corps collected, tested, and analyzed 507 soil samples. Jana sits next to Coldwater Creek, which was contaminated by radioactive waste decades ago. Jana students have been transferred to different schools in the Hazelwood School District. The school is not expected to reopen.
Well, tonight we're honoring St. Louis royalty, Becky Rothman, known as Becky, the Queen of Carpet.
She died this weekend after a long fight with kidney disease. 5 on your side's Laura Barczewski talked with her family about her inspirational life. Laura.
Mike and Ann, I don't have a magic carpet to fly next to the arch like Queen Becky did, but truthfully, no one can do it as well as her. Her family says she was beautiful inside and out.
She was always destined to be a star, according to her name. Rebecca Starr Rothman was a shining light to her family.
I know that she loved me very much, and it was obviously reciprocated.
And to the rest of St. Louis, she was TV royalty.
Hi, I'm Becky, the Queen of Carpet.
Becky, the Queen of Carpet, left an unforgettable mark on St. Louis with her comical commercials for her family flooring store.
How fast can you get this thing going? Hang on. Watch out!
You can't forget a flying carpet with a queen flying around the St. Louis Arch.
Wanda, I'm just flipping over our low prices.
She even got her daughter, Rachel Reynolds, to join her for one commercial when she was only 3 or 4 years old. She wore this bright pink dress to match her mom's bright green one.
We have an outtake video, and I did not want to do it. Like I was just saying, I prefer to be behind the camera.
When Queen Becky wasn't running the family business on her magic carpet, she was spending time with her family and her other children, her Dobermans.
She trained, or I guess raised, trained, and competed in Schutzen, which is essentially like guard dog. A lot of the working dogs like Dobermans or German Shepherds especially.
The family says in 2012 they closed the stores, and that same year she was diagnosed with kidney disease, which she fought for the last decade.
I was her primary caregiver for past about 1.5 years, and she was wheelchair bound for a lot of that, and it was very difficult, but she was always so positive.
Her nephew Mark Rothman says she dedicated herself to the community, volunteering, and even raising $2,000 for the National Kidney Foundation.
This year we formed a team and participated in the kidney walk this past March.
Little did they know it'd be the last time she'd wear her crown before the terrible disease took hold.
It's just really inspiring that, you know, even at the end, even on Sunday before it happened, she was still really fighting and holding on. And
the Rothman family says there will be a memorial visitation on Thursday at 9 a.m. at Berger Memorial Chapel. Then following that, there will be a private family service. Reporting live from downtown St. Louis, Laura Barcheski, 5 on your side.
Does color truly matter when it comes to buying your child's summer swimsuit? We verify.
As we do add a little more humidity to the mix, there's a slightly better chance a few of us might see a shower or storm over the next couple of days. Why that chance still looks limited.
Complaints from both sides of the aisle to make a deal.
We cannot let perfect be the enemy of the good, and I guarantee you the majority of the House is gonna agree.
The praises and critiques against the nation's debt ceiling deal as a looming deadline approaches.
Just over an hour ago, the House Rules Committee approved the compromise bill to raise the debt ceiling. Now the bill goes to the full House. There's less than a week to make a decision to avoid the first ever default on the nation's debt. The deal extends the debt limit for 2 years while keeping spending roughly the same. President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, who crafted the deal, face criticism from some of the most liberal and conservative members of their parties.
To be very clear, not one Republican should vote for this deal. It is a bad deal.
Some Republicans say the bill doesn't go far enough to cut spending. Meanwhile, liberal Democrats criticize the new work requirements for some people on food stamps.
Ironically, both Democratic and Republican members, I think, struggling with this vote, the same dynamic, but for almost opposite reasons.
House leaders hope to pass the bill by the end of tomorrow. From there, it would head to the Senate.
Another big part of this debt ceiling bill deals with student loans. It ends the pause on repayments that started at the beginning of the pandemic. Those payments would start back up at the end of August. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court is still deciding on the president's student loan forgiveness plan. It's expected to make a decision before the end of June. Soon, more than 1,000 colleges will be able to hide information about a student's race and ethnicity. It's only for universities that use the Common App for student applications. The move starts on August 1st. This comes ahead of the Supreme Court's ruling that would likely ban college and universities from taking race into consideration during admissions.
Well, it was a busy weekend in the skies. TSA says 300,000 more people were screened this year compared to 2019's Memorial Day. In all, 9.8 million people were screened. At Lambert this year, nearly 95,000 people traveled through security between Thursday and Monday. In 2019, it was around 98,000. On the road, Missouri Highway Patrol reported 10 traffic deaths. The youngest victim was from Hillsborough, only 20 years old. He died Friday night in Jefferson County. Missouri Highway Patrol says there were no local drownings or boat crashes over the holiday weekend. Year to date in 2022, there were 15 deaths tied to boat and drowning incidents. This year so far, there have been 10.
It is pool season, and as you get your kids ready to splash in the water, what they're wearing is about much more than just making a fashion statement. Let's verify why colors in the pool matter.
Our source is a watercolor study from Alive Solutions and Allie Gaines with Charlotte Aquatics. According to Alive Solutions, bright and contrasting colors are easier to see underwater. This is important because if your kid goes underwater for a long period of time, you'll want to easily spot them. The Alive Solutions color test shows some examples. In this series of photos, fabric colors such as bright reds, pinks, blues, and greens show up better when compared to fabrics such as light blue, light gray, black, and white. As you can see, the colors white and light blue basically disappear when underwater. Gaines says drownings are so prevalent in children under the age of 4. She confirms kids should be wearing brightly colored swimsuits.
Neon colors are much better. They're easier to spot in the water.
Gaines says while picking out the perfect swimsuit color is important for parents, it's only a secondary measure for preventing accidents in pools.
If you're not actually watching the water, if you're not actually watching your kids, it's really not going to do very good.
Gaines also suggests putting your kids in swim lessons at an early age to help get them used to being around the water.
So swim lessons are always going to be your number one way to keep your kids safe around the water, a best way to prevent drowning. Formal swim lessons actually reduce the risk of drowning by 88%.
So we can verify that yes, brighter colored swimsuits are easier to spot if your kid goes underwater. With your Verify, I'm Megan Bragg.
Verify at KSDK.com. Memorial Day kicking off the unofficial start of summer, and we have some warm summer-like temperatures to go with it. Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell with the Weather First forecast. Scott?
Well, and those temperatures today topped out right around 90 degrees. Third time this year we've seen that 90-degree temperature top out in St. Louis. There's your sun setting this evening across the metro area. And the air quality in that orange category, unhealthy for sensitive groups. It'll be there again for tomorrow. You can see planes coming and going out at Lambert with no problems this evening. 90 degrees was our top temperature in St. Louis. Third time this year we've been at or above 90 degrees. And the low temperature this morning down into the 60s. So the air quality's now dropped back into the yellow. It'll go back into orange again tomorrow, largely because we'll have a decent amount of sunshine and there's very little wind across the area. There are some showers out by Kansas City. There were a few farther to the east. We're still around 80 in St. Louis, outlying areas already down into the 70s. And you can feel it. It is a little more humid tonight. This still isn't your full-on summertime humidity, and we're not getting that out of this batch of heat this go round. Yes, it's a little more humid going into tomorrow through Friday, and then we dry back out over the weekend. That's really going to limit our rain chances. 81 degrees right now, no wind. The wind is calm at Lambert. Dew point at Lambert's 55 degrees. We'll see 50s in the outlying areas, near 60 as we get closer to St. Louis, and then into the mid-60s for lows early tomorrow morning. System back east has been trying to nudge some moisture back across Indiana into portions of Kentucky. That's even trying to get into southern portions of Illinois. At the same time, out to our west, this is not an overly dramatic weather system, but it has kicked off some heavier showers and thunderstorms today. It's just that it's not moving much. There's a hint of it showing up tomorrow in this small-scale futurecast, but really the options for us are limited because the moisture is limited. There's nothing really to force the air to rise and create storms. So anything we see tomorrow afternoon is during the heat of the afternoon. It would be isolated. We'll go into Thursday. Same scenario playing out. Temperatures upper 80s, low 90s. Moisture, while the humidity's up a little bit, it's still somewhat limited. So it's only isolated showers and thunderstorms, not enough to provide any relief on a widespread basis from the dry conditions that prevail. And as we go into the weekend, we actually see temperatures go up a couple of degrees. Saturday and Sunday, we're looking at low to mid 90s, but the humidity levels back off. Drier air comes in. That should limit rainfall chances for the entire weekend, and it's marginal to see if we get anything early next week. It may be next weekend or the week after before we finally see a pattern adjustment that allows us to get some decent rainfall over a more widespread area.
And it's great. This weather has been fantastic, but we do need the rain.
We need the rain, and we need some wind to mix this pollution out of here.
Yeah. All right. Scott, thanks. Frank is here with sports.
Mike, Miles Michaelis had a performance to remember tonight. The NASCAR Cup Series has more tension than the TV series Succession. And you won't believe what happened at a baseball game in New York. Stick around.
The Sports Desk is sponsored by Jim Butler Chevrolet, the Midwest's #1 Chevy dealer 10 years running.
I know it's the Royals, and they have the same chance of making the MLB playoffs as Vianney High School. But folks, we have been looking for a #1 starter. And after 4 consecutive good starts, including a scintillating one tonight, we have one, and his name is Miles Michaelis. Second inning, not complicated. I'm throwing it as hard as I can. You swing as fast as you can. That's 95 and a strikeout. It always helps when you have good defense, too. Michael Massey's single. MJ Melendez will try to score on Brendan Donovan. The leap is not successful, and that's how you win the Utility Gold Glove Award. Then in the 6th inning, Nolan Arenado will double to the gap. Paul Goldschmidt will storm home, and the Cardinals have finally scored a run against the Royals. Stop the presses. Michaelis went 8 scoreless, struck out 10, allowed 3 hits, and walked just 1. Giovanni Gallegos finished things off, 94 on that fastball. Cardinals win it 2-1.
I think it's one of the best feelings in sports to, show up for your team when they need it. This is a team game, but, every game there's, someone who you kind of got to lean on. And if you get to be that guy or, if it's Goldie hitting home runs, I'm sure that feels great. Anytime you can do anything to help your team, it makes you feel good.
The Caleb Love journey continues. The CBC guard started 96 games in North Carolina and played in a national championship game. This spring, Love decided to transfer to the University of Michigan. But today, he announced he will play at Arizona next season. Welcome to the transfer world of college basketball. Welcome to John Burroughs High School. What a baseball season they are having. They've made it to the Final Four. They've not lost a game in St. Louis all season long. They've won 25 games in a row and have beaten many of the heavyweights in town this season. They have 3 sets of brothers on the team, and those seniors, well, they've played together since they were kids.
Team chemistry last year was fantastic, and it's just carried over to this year where we've added just a couple more players, and they just play hard and they play for each other. They have a lot of fun, and I think with that, you're going to win a lot of games.
Got to show you the Section 5 championship game in New York this weekend. Hornell needing 1 out to win, and the strike 3 is called on the pitch in the dirt. The celebration begins, but it was a dropped 3rd strike, and no play was made on the Palmac hitter. So as the celebration continues, the tying run scores, and so will the go-ahead run. Now there's complete confusion as both teams begin celebrating. The umpires sorted it out and agreed that Palmac was the winner in one of the wild finishes you will ever see. Ticket sales have been really strong for the Enjoy Illinois 300 this Sunday at WWT Raceway. And part of the reason is the tension on the track. It doesn't work in a marriage. It's awesome for the NASCAR Cup Series. A few weeks ago, we had Noah Gragson really ticked off at Ross Chastain. He touched his arm, and Chastain cold-cocked him. Now, I don't want to advocate violence, but people in the business can't deny its impact.
Everybody's out of control. They're getting in each other, and they're fighting. And it's no different than watching a hockey game. They're fighting. There's a fight. And they've been fighting every race, so it's really showing up good.
The feistiness continued yesterday at the Coca-Cola 600 on lap 186. Chase Elliott took out Denny Hamlin. Hamlin was incensed, and NASCAR was not happy either. So Elliott will be suspended for the Enjoy Illinois 300. Elliott has 18 career wins, and he's won the Cup Series. He won it a couple of years ago. And that will do it in sports.
All right, Frank, thanks.
It's a blast from the past. The new brew serving up some 80s nostalgia in a big way.
Here's a blast from the past. A new beer from Four Hands Brewing hits store shelves this week. It's called Voltron Volume 1. It's the first of a 6-part series inspired by that animated 80s TV show, Voltron Volume 1, is brewed in partnership with Narrow Gauge Brewing in Florissant. It's an IPA, we're told, with a citrus hoppy flavor and a splash of New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc.
Make sure you check out a new primate on your next visit to the zoo. St. Louis just gained Kayan, who is a 7-year-old Western lowland gorilla. He just arrived from the Buffalo Zoo and is part of a conservation program that manages a healthy population of this species in North American zoos.
And you know it's summertime when live music is back at the Missouri Botanical Garden. The Whitaker Music Festival returns tomorrow night at 5. It is free to get in. The music starts at 7, and food and drink are also available for purchase. And there you have it. 5 on your side at 10. The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon is next.
Jimmy's guests tonight are Jennifer Aniston, Sarah Snook, and Preacher Lawson. Start your day with Today in St. Louis beginning at 4 a.m. Have a great tomorrow.